Good morning. I am Dr. Priyadarshini, Environmental Science Department. Today let us discuss Introduction to Biochemistry, Unit 1, 4th semester MSc program, MSc Softcore Biotechnology, Unit 1, Introduction to Biochemistry. Objectives of this unit: explain the elements of biochemistry, describe the structure and function of lipids, carbohydrates, proteins, amino acid, explain the functions of hybrid biochemicals, discuss the hierarchy of cellular organization. Next, we move to know about what is biochemistry. Biochemistry, the word derived from Greek word bios, means life. It is the branch of science deals with the study of chemical basis of life. That means chemistry of living matters at cellular and molecular level in living beings. Biochemistry is a special branch of organic chemistry that deals with matter inside the living cell called a protoplasma. Protoplasma is an enormously complex mixture of organic compounds where high level of chemicals activity occur. What is life made of? Physical and chemical science alone may not completely explain the nature of life, but they at least provide an essential framework for such an explanation. All students of life must have a fundamental understanding of organic chemistry and biochemistry. Organic chemistry is the study of carbon compounds. Organic compounds are compounds composed primarily of carbon skeleton. All living things are composed of organic compounds. Organic versus inorganic compounds. Organic compounds contain carbon and hydrogen. Inorganic compounds rarely contain carbon. Organic compounds typically larger molecule due to carbon bonding capabilities. Inorganic compounds usually smaller than organic compounds. Organic compounds, some dissolved in water, non-electrolytes, must dissolve in organic liquids. Inorganic compounds usually dissociated in water electrolytes. Carbohydrates, lipids, protein, nucleic acid are primary organic compounds. You are expected to learn the structure and function of these organic compounds. Next, we move to know about lipids. Lipids are regarded as a biological substance or compounds that are relatively insoluble in water and soluble in organic solvents such as alcohol, ether, benzene, chloroform, etc. Classification of lipids: simple lipids, derived lipids, miscellaneous lipids, neutral lipids and complex lipids. First one is simple lipids. Simple lipids are the esters of fatty acid with alcohol. Further, the simple lipids are derived as a fats and oils and waxes. Fats and oils are called a triglycerols, which are the esters of fatty acid with glycerol. Next one is complex lipids. These lipids are the esters of fatty acid with alcohol having additional group as phosphate, nitrogenous base, carbohydrates, proteins, etc. For example, phospholipids, glycolipids, lipoproteins. Next one is derived lipids. These lipids are obtained by the hydrolysis of simple and complex lipids. For example, lipids soluble vitamins, steroids. Next one is the miscellaneous lipids, carotenoids, hydrocarbons, terpenes, etc. all belongs to the class of miscellaneous lipids. Last one is the neutral lipids. These are the uncharged particles and behave neutral. Cholesterol is the best example. Next, we move to know about functions of lipids. Lipids serve various functions. Some of the important ones are as follows. It acts as a concentrated fuel reserve of the body and it acts as a constituents of membrane structure and regulate permeability. Lipid, a source of soluble vitamins, serve as a cellular metabolic regulator. It protects internal organs by serving as a insulators. Next, we move to the know about important lipids or vitamins and steroids and other lipids. First one is vitamins. Vitamins and minerals are needed for growth and maintenance of the body structure. Vitamins are generally divided into two categories, one fat soluble, another one is water soluble. Next one is the important lipid is the steroids are the class of compounds of lipid with the general structure as shown in the figure. This is the structure of steroids. Next we move to know about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen atom, always in the ratio of 1:2:1. Carbohydrates are the key source of energy used by living things. The building blocks of carbohydrates are sugars such as glucose and fructose. Carbohydrate is a larger biological molecule or macromolecule. The carbohydrates are divided into four chemical groupings. One is monosaccharide, disaccharide, oligosaccharide and polysaccharide. Next, we move to know about structure of carbohydrates. Natural saccharides are generally built of simple carbohydrates called a monosaccharide with general formula CH2O of N, where N is the 3 or more. This is the structure of carbohydrate. First one is the monosaccharide. Monosaccharide are the simplest carbohydrate in that they cannot be hydrolyzed to smaller carbohydrate. They are aldehydes or ketones with 2 or more hydroxyl groups. Monosaccharide with 3 carbon atoms are called a triose. Those which 4 are called a tetrose, 5 are called a pentose, 6 are called a hexose and so on. This is the structure of monosaccharide, means glucose. Next, we going to know about the use of monosaccharide. Monosaccharide are the major source of fuel for metabolism, being used both as an energy source and in biosynthesis. Next, the second very important carbohydrate is disaccharide. The two joined monosaccharide are called a disaccharide and these are the simplest polysaccharide. For example, sucrose and lactose. The formula of unmodified disaccharide is C12H22O11. This is the structure of sucrose and lactose. Very important carbohydrates are oligosaccharide and polysaccharide. Polysaccharide and oligosaccharide are composed of longer chain of monosaccharide units bound together by glycosidic bonds. Oligosaccharides typically contain between 3 and 10 monosaccharide units and polysaccharide contain the greater than 10 monosaccharide units. Structural polysaccharides are common source of energy. This carbohydrates type can be metabolized by some bacteria and protists. Even though these complex carbohydrates are not very digestible, they may comprises important dietary elements for human called a dietary fiber. Although insoluble fiber is associated with reduced diabetes risk, the mechanism by which this occur is unknown. Next, we move to know about the very important organic compound as protein. Protein are the most abundant organic molecule of living system. They occur in every part of cell and constitute about 50% of cellular dry weight. Proteins perform a wide variety of specialized and essential function in the living cell. The function can be categorized into static or structural function and dynamic function. Next, first one function is static function. Certain proteins perform bricks and mortar roles and are responsible for the structural and strength of the body. Next, second function is dynamic functions. These are the most diversified in nature and include the proteins acting as enzymes, hormones, blood clotting factors, immunoglobulins, membrane receptor, storage protein in genetic control, muscle contraction and respiration. etc. These are the very important dynamic functions. Proteins are predominantly constituted by 5 major elements such as carbon 50 to 55%, hydrogen 6 to 7.3%, oxygen 19 to 24%, nitrogen 13 to 19%, sulfur 4%. Besides this, these are the other elements such as phosphorus, ferrous, copper, manganese, zinc, etc. The content of nitrogen in the proteins on an average is 16%. Next, we move to know about classification of proteins. Proteins can be classified into many groups. First, we concentrate on functional classification of proteins. The functional classification include the following proteins. The first one is structural proteins. It contains keratin of air, nails and collagen of bones. Next one is enzyme or catalytic proteins. It contains hexokinase, pepsin, etc. The very important functional group of protein is hormonal proteins. It includes insulin, growth hormones. Next, hormonocontractile protein includes actin and myosin. Next one is storage protein. It includes ovalbumin. Next one is genetic proteins. It includes nucleoproteins. Defense proteins includes snake venom and immunoglobulins. Last one is receptor proteins. It includes hormones and viruses. Protein can be classified on the basis of chemical nature and solubility. Protein can be classified on the basis of chemical nature and solubility as simple protein, conjugated protein, derived protein. You can go through this table. You will get the entire classification of protein on the basis of chemical nature and solubility. Next, we move to know about amino acids. 300 amino acids occur in nature, of which only 20 are known, and they are called a standard amino acid. These are the isolated from plants, animals and microbes. Amino acids are a group of organic compounds having two functional groups, amino and carboxyl group. This is the general structure of amino acid. This is the optical isomers of amino acid. Next, we move to know about properties of amino acids. Amino acids differ in physical as well as chemical properties, which ultimately determines the characteristics of proteins. This is the structure of proteins. Next, we move to know about primary structure of proteins. The sequence of amino acid linked by peptide bonds form a polypeptide chain. The first complete determination of amino acid sequence of protein was done for the hormone insulin. A primary structure of protein is important genetically as well as structurally. This is the amino acid sequence in the insulin molecule of axon. Next, we move to know about secondary structure of protein. The secondary structure of protein arises from the way in which the primary structure folded, maximizing the number of hydrogen bonds and in the effect lowering the free energy of the molecule and their interaction with water. Next, this is the tertiary structure of protein. The final one is quaternary structure of protein. The quaternary structure of protein is the level of organization concerned with the subunit interaction and assembly. Next, we move to know about nucleic acid. The nucleic acids like carbohydrates and proteins are another class of biological polymers or macromolecules. The monomeric unit of nucleic acid termed nucleotides. There occur two types of nucleic acid. One is deoxyribonucleic acid. We call it as DNA, and another one is ribonucleic acid, we call it as RNA. Next, structural components of nucleic acid. The hydrolysis the nucleic acid yield three components. One is phosphoric acid, second one is pentose, and third one is nitrogen containing ring compounds called a nitrogen bases. Next is the nitrogen bases is the nucleic acid belong to two general classes. One is pyrimidine and purine. Pyrimidine as a single benzene ring and the purine as a imidazole ring attached to the benzene ring. Purine is divided into two types, adenine and guanine. Pyrimidine is divided into three groups, thymine, cytosine and uracil. Uracil is present almost exclusively in RNA. This is the structure of deoxyribonucleotide, ribonucleotide and nitrogenous bases. Next, we move to nucleotides. The proteins and the organic bases combines and the combination is called a nucleotide. This is the structure of nucleosides. Next, we move to nucleotides. The phosphate ester of nucleoside is known as a nucleotides. The combination of proteins, nitrogenous bases and phosphates is a nucleotide. Next, we move to deoxyribonucleotide acid. Genes are made up of nucleic and deoxyribonucleic acid. These molecules serve as the carrier of genetic information in all the organisms other than some viruses. This diagram is the Watson-Crick model of DNA. This is the double helical structure of DNA. The unit connecting one strand of DNA to its polarized components consists of two paired organic bases of four kinds. First one is adenine, second one is cytosine, third one is guanine and fourth one is thymine. Classified into two groups, the purine and pyrimidine. A base sugar complex is called a nucleoside. A nucleoside plus a phosphate is called a nucleotide. A unique material properties of DNA have made in an attractive molecule for material scientists and engineers interested in micro and nano fabrication. The unit connecting one strand of DNA to its polarized component. The unit connecting one strand of DNA to its polarized complement consists of paired organic bases of four kinds: adenine, cytosine, guanine and thymine. Next, we move to know about secondary structure of DNA. The major and minor grooves shows in secondary structure of DNA. The base pairing of complementary nucleotides make up the secondary structure of DNA base pairing between adenine, thymine and guanine cytosine are the possible because these base pairs are similar in size. Ribonucleic acid. Cellular RNA is a single stranded, DNA is a double stranded. However, some viruses have a single stranded DNA genome. A few viruses have single stranded RNA genome. A very few have a double stranded RNA genome. RNA contains ribose sugar instead of deoxyribose sugars. RNA contains a pyrimidine uracil instead of thymine and uracil pair with adenine. RNA molecules are much shorter than DNA molecules. One of them is in protein synthesis, carrying information from the instruction coded into the DNA to the ribosomal sites of protein synthesis is in the cell. Single-stranded RNA chain may fold back upon itself and form localized double-stranded section by complementary base pairing. This is the structure of ribonucleic acid. This is the schematic diagram of intestinal bacterium E. coli showing the location of the biomolecules. Dear learner, thank you. This is the end of the topic. In this unit, we discussed about carbohydrates, lipids, proteins and nucleic acids. So, next class we discuss second unit. Thank you.